Hello, my friend, and welcome to Sakiniska, hosted by me, Johnny Seifert. This is a celebrity mental health podcast. I say it's okay to not be okay. And if you have the same match as me, whether you're watching or listening, click that follow button on social media. I'm at Johnny Seifert 92 on TikTok, at Johnny Seifert at Sakiniska Podcast on Instagram, and follow whether you're watching or listening. Now, let me tell you about my guest today, because she is here today to talk about her mental health journey and her memoir Behind the Scenes, which is a book full of Eastenders anecdotes, rawness, heartache, happiness, humour, and so many showbiz stories, including interactions with George Michael, the Jacksons, David Guest, Sir Brian May, and just many, many more. So please welcome to Sakiniska, it's Cheryl Fergison. Hello, Cheryl.
Hello, hi Johnny. I'm just really pleased to be here. It's a beautiful day where I am, and so I hope you lot are going to enjoy this because I think you will. I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, I think that this is the interesting thing about the celebrity world kind of thing. I think you've got two types. You've got those actors who do a show, they're stereotyped by the show, they're defined by it. You've got the actors that kind of do a bit of everything and they might go into a Netflix show, etc. Then you've got the third category, which are people which your characters are so instrumental and they're such a pinnacle part of an era of a show that you're almost defined by them. But then you do so much else that people can't help but fall in love with you because you're a bit of everything. And I think that's exactly kind of hopefully how to sum you up, that you're a jack of all trades.
I used to say on the set, when people used to say to me at EastEnders, "Oh, your life before," and I sort of used to laugh, and I used to say, "Come on, gang, we all wing it, don't we? We all wing it to get here." And I think that's not wholly true. I mean, I've worked really, really hard, but at the same time, I've kind of been a little bit blinkered because what I tend to do is I take people on face value. So when I've been to auditions or been for meetings or just meet people generally, I don't really care who they are. I know that sounds a bit like, I don't know if that sounds pompous, but I care that I want to know who they are and I want to meet them. But I don't really, if they've got a title or if they're this sort of person or if that doesn't bother me. I just want to meet the person. And if they're good to me and kind to me and nice to me, then I can, show that respect back. And I think that's the thing. I've kind of never thought, oh, well, I'm going for an audition with this director or this casting director or this show. Or it's never, but that's never, I know my worth. I know what I can do. So, like when I've been to these places and meet these people, I'm just chat like I'm chatting to you. It's not, there's no difference because we're all people at the end of the day. We've all got stories to tell. We've all got lives that we've led. That's the most important thing. It's how you get to your position in life. Hopefully it's through really hard work and determination. Sometimes it's through fluke and luck, and and good luck to those people that have done that, and and then carry on proving your worth, and then you'll stay where you are. But I think the thing is that you never to underestimate people, never underestimate who, where you're going, who you are. And I think the general, I've got two words in life, Johnny, and that's it. It's educate and communicate. And I think if you listen and you talk, which is communicate, and if you educate, as in you learn and you teach, those are the four rules. That's all it is. That's all it takes in life to kind of get right. And then we're called humankind for a reason. So be kind humans. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. So I mean, I think that's the thing. I've been so blessed and so lucky to have landed such wonderful jobs. I've got in, somehow it makes me laugh because sometimes I think, oh, have I been the cleaner somewhere and somebody's just picked me up and sort of done it, that got me in that job. But it's not. It's basically I've not really kind of mapped my life. It's just kind of happened. And when the lows have happened, and there have been a lot of lows, I mean, my book, kind of, and I hope that's what, I can relate to a lot of people in the book because a lot of people can relate to some of the stories in there if they've ever talked about those stories or those things that have been related to them, then this is an opportunity for me to say, go and use those services. Go and talk to somebody if you're feeling if you're feeling low, go and do that, and don't feel on your own. Please don't do that because it's so easy to get drugged into that sort of down the plug hole. Just cling in there and just go and use those services and do all those things. Don't be frightened. And it doesn't matter who you are. It really doesn't. Whether you're the King of England or whether you're, whoever it is, just go and speak to people, talk to them on a level and just be straight and be honest. That's all you can do. And then, out of that, you'll get what you need in life. You'll get what you sort of what you deserve in a way, you know. And we've all got to have a bit of self-worth. We've all got to validate ourselves in some way. And I think sometimes that's really, really difficult to do, you know. So the book talks a little bit about my struggles. And if somebody's reading it and then they go, oh, actually, that's kind of happened to me a bit. I've never spoken to anyone about it, but it has actually happened to that person. I've read it. It does happen, you know, or, you know, I just want to reach the people. I've done, you know, community is my kind of where I'm at. I think we should all get back to community. We should all be getting back to kind of helping each other and stop hating. It's just, it's a crazy world we're living in at the minute. And I guess that's got to happen for us to kind of realize, to pull us back to sort of some sort of normality again, you know. Sorry, I've wafted on a bit. I don't know what you asked me in the beginning.
No, not at all. I mean, look, there was kind of, you were talking, I was like, right, there's tangent one and there's tangent two. And now I'm
I'm terrible.
Which tangent do I go on?
My son has ADHD and he's on the autistic scale. And I think, you know, I got that diagnosed quite young with him. With me, I'm possibly of the same era, but they did, you know, I was just known as the naughty child when I was little. That's all it was. You know, it was the nobody assessed my sort of behavior. But
and the annoying thing is that as well, if you have an assessment now, they need your mother to tell you about, you know, what were you like at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, and sadly your mum's not with us anymore. And I was too embarrassed to bring my mum with, and so I couldn't get a formal diagnosis for ADHD because I was on the line, I had everything, but that little bit. But that little bit, my mum would have answered, and or whatever. You know, we've all got it, but you know, we wouldn't be creative if we didn't have it, would we, Cheryl?
Well, I think that's the thing. I think creatives are the people who tend to, that they're in a weird kind of way. Your brain is wired slightly different because we have this thing where we need to keep going, keep creating, keep having these wonderful ideas, keep trying to deal with them, and and sometimes we have no way of dealing with them. So we kind of exploding in our minds because we can't reach out. We haven't got the right services or resources sometimes, or just in general, it's like, what do we do with ourselves? What I'm bouncing off the walls here, but what I want to do actually is join a football team or to do, you know, I you know, all these things you don't kind of know. Sometimes I think a lot of people just don't know what to do with themselves, and that if that's ADHD, then that's ADHD. But I think I know, as you said, as a mum, I knew that my son was slightly different because I was a human punch bag at some points for him. Times are awful. You know, I'd have to literally palm him off to the neighbour for 5 minutes just to have a breather because he didn't stop crying. He didn't stop, you know, it was just constant. And I think for myself, it's weird. I've always had that thing to go, I've been pushed to a limit. What do I do? It's fight or flight, isn't it? I kind of go, right, I could either literally, and I hate to say this, I could literally, you know, at this moment in time, and he knows I've said this before, I've said it in shows with him there, you know, I could literally have covered him with a pillar, literally, because it was constant, non-stop sleep deprivation. You know, there was a whole heap of stuff. And it's a terrible thing to admit. And it wasn't postnatal depression because he was like 5 or 6. It wasn't that kind of, it was just not, it was relentless. It was absolutely relentless. And I did not have services or coping mechanism at that point to deal with his behavior. I realized something was wrong quite early on. And his dad actually dismissed it. He's just a boy. He's just this. He's just that. And I was like, no, it's not. You know, I see other people's children. I know when they're having a tantrum. I know when they're being slightly, you know, pushing their parents a bit or their carers. I know what they're doing, but this is different. This is something in him because when he would be able to kind of get, for example, here's a great friend, Lego. I mean, he had boxes and boxes of Lego. He would sit for ages. And that was the time that was him to be able to be creative. And somebody reminded me last night, it really, and I've forgotten about this. He was at the age of 8 and 9, he was making Lego movies, and I'd forgotten about it. They said, do you remember when Alex was making Lego movies in his bedroom with his Lego figures and what he built? And I went, oh my God, yeah. And I was so wrapped up in myself at that point, and I was in Eastenders and things, it was all a bit overwhelming, all of it, that I'd forgotten about that about him. He was creative, even young. And I just thought, that's where he shines. He shines on being able to do something. But when it all goes wrong, he destroys it. He used to destroy it. He would build something amazing, and then if he couldn't have his own way, or was frustrated, or he was hungry, or I had to find all the signs about him that then he would just destroy this piece of art that he built, and and then he would cry, and then he would want a cuddle, and then all the emotions, he just didn't know what to do with them, and I just thought, wow, we are so complex as people. This happens to adults as well as children. What do we do? What are we supposed to do as adults to make things better? Children, we can give them a cuddle, or we can try to nurture them, or we can put them in different environments. Adults, you're left to your own devices a lot of the time to try and figure it out. And I think that, that's why, again, like I said, I'm a great believer in community and groups. And I think it's really important to try to find your tribe, if that makes sense, to find that sort of light for you and to not feel that you're on your own, because it's really difficult. And it's the same goes for older people. It's the same thing, they're stuck at home a lot of the time. Some people can't get out, they're housebound. What the heck, you're talking to your four walls, you've got your TV that's blaring at you, you got your radio. It's not, you need humans need humans to kind of exist and to be like to thrive and to kind of learn and to all of those things. So yeah.
And I think what's interesting is there's two things you spoke about in your book. The first is Steve McFadden, who plays Phil Mitchell, and his quote.
He is a cracking actor. He's an amazing guy. He's my big brother. He's exactly like I say in the book. The minute I met him, we didn't actually click the minute I met him, because I used to look at him and think, there are some people looking at him, they're a bit, sometimes they'd swerve him a little bit like Linda Henry on the street. If we would walk down the street together, Linda, who plays Shirley, if we walked down the street together, they would swerve her, but they would come up and talk to me. The perception of people and their characters on the television, that people kind of have this, so even some of the people who worked at Eastenders who were new, who were coming in, they were kind of a little bit frightened of him, because they couldn't differentiate between the character and Steve. Is he really scary? Is he really, is he not a nice man? What is he? So I was kind of like, I don't know. I was wary of him at first, until I started doing luckily we got to do a lot of scenes together, because they put him and Shirley together as a couple. It was like the trio. It was three of us. It was like the three amigos. We kind of literally worked together. Played together. I go to charity events in Mallorca with Linda. We would share things. I'd go on holiday with Linda.
Let's talk about what Steve says in your book. So he says, and this is on page 8, in part of the foreword, he says, "You leave people better than you found them." And I want to use that to symbolize your upbringing, if that's okay. Grew up in 1965 in Richmond. Your mum was 17 years old when she had you. So thinking about what we've spoken about or what you've spoken about so far, about your son, about the way you're parented, the fact that you want people to see the belief in the systems that are available, like the food banks, etc. Why is it, Cheryl, that Steve says you leave people better than you found them? What does it mean for you? And I always think, when I'm looking at myself and being a people pleaser, I don't want people to go through what I went through. I don't want people to feel the way that I sometimes feel with, let's say, loneliness. What is it, Cheryl, about yourself that you think has made you that person that has done a book, that's been very open in the media about the use of food banks or singing in a Chinese restaurant, etc., that you want people to feel uplifted themselves? What are you covering for?
No one is better than anyone else. And I think everything that you do is justifiable in some ways. I mean, the job you do means something to somebody, even if you think it doesn't. It doesn't matter what job you have. I mean, I love bigging up the NHS and the nurses and all the people there, because they put up with such rubbish, not just from the general public, but from their managers and all the pressures from above, that they have to do stuff on time, they have to do things with budgets. It just it bewilders me that people still want to go into that profession. They still want to be teachers, because at the end of the day, you want to teach somebody because you want them to learn about life. And that's getting harder and harder to do because there's such red tape now. You have to be social worker, dinner person. You have to be all of these people. That jobs were there for everybody before. You had a designated job. Now, like, one job fits all, and it doesn't fit all. And that's the problem. That's the thing that society's gone, let's penny pinch here. Let's save some money. Oh, you can do that as well as doing that, as well as doing that. And we'll pay you the same, but, we'll give you some extra responsibility. Well, with that responsibility, it becomes a lot of pressure on your head to kind of do all of these things that other people took off of you in the early days. You went into teaching because you wanted to make a difference to a child's life. That's what you wanted to do. Hopefully, you wanted to, and you could see. I mean, I talk to my teachers now. I still speak to my teachers. They're in my book. They've been with me all of my kind of career, and it's been amazing. But not only my career, they've been through a lot of their other pupils' careers as well that they still see, or they still they see working in their Perkins engines, for example, that they went to do as an apprentice. They still see those people down the pub. It's just kind of that must be a great satisfaction seeing, and that's what I get. That's what I get, Johnny. I get satisfaction seeing people that I have hopefully helped in some way by just a comment I've made or just a gesture I've made. Where I live, we've got like a couple of homeless people who live in the doorways. Okay, fantastic. We're lucky that our shops don't chuck them out. You know what I mean? They don't shove them off the street. At night, they sleep there. In the daytime, I mean, it shouldn't have to be like that, by the way. I'm just saying, but in the daytime, they actually make themselves scarce, or they'll go move somewhere else. But it takes nothing. It takes absolutely nothing to walk not past these people, but to acknowledge that those people are there, and just to even say hello, or are you all right, or how are you. You don't have to give any money. You don't have to give them a sandwich. You don't have, just give them a bit of time. Just make them feel like you're not a pair of legs walking past them. That's what it's got to be about. That and from that, I think, I've done that since I was a kid, whether it's like taking in waifs to stray dogs home. I can't help but sort of try to, people would say I'm a fixer. Well, I've stopped using that word now because I realise that I can't fix everything. I can't fix the world. I can't fix people's problems. I certainly, financially, I can't fix people because I can't fix myself in that sort of respect. But what I can do is just acknowledge that we're all humans, and it doesn't matter if it just doesn't matter. And we are so pressurized to, like you said at one point, the loneliness. We're so pressurized to kind of be with somebody that we don't enjoy our own company. I mean, I love my own company. I've learned to love my own company because I think sometimes when you're in with company, when you think, oh, I've not got to be lonely anymore, I'm going to go out. It's not worth it. Some of those people are not actually worth being in their company because they're just putting stuff on you that you don't need. So surely it's better off for you to read something, or to watch something, or to find a group that is like-minded, rather than just go, I'm going out now, I'm going to go to a club, I'm going to just meet people. That's not how it works. You have to find kind of like-minded people to be on that level, to get what you want out of life. You have to find and do the work. And it's like anything, the connections will come together. It's like a telephone line. You will meet those people. Sometimes you get a bad connection and you think, oh, okay, that's not a great connection. I'll try a different Wi-Fi. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And not be too sucked in by a lot of the stuff that goes on. I think that's the problem. Everybody's to blame. The media's to blame. Everything's to blame for us. Why we've got to look the way we've got to look. Why we've got to be the way. Why we've got to eat the stuff we eat. We watch television. We're bombarded with food adverts in between it. So what do? We go and eat. We're not hungry. We're just being subliminally told, eat something. Go and eat. Go and find a McDonald's now afterwards and go and eat it. We don't need it. We're just a little bit like not very good at being strong.
This whole
Yeah.
subliminal messaging when it comes to food advert is the opposite end of Monjaro, and how you've seen everyone do Monjaro and it's so glamorized now, and it's, oh my God, look how amazing everyone looks. And so Monjaro was originally supposed to be for people who are obese. And now everyone who's overweight is finding it online, or people who are thin are finding it online because they think it's the trend and it's the thing to do. And suddenly the pendulum has gone the other way. Rather than going, right, we're going to McDonald's, it's now kind of fashionable to go, yeah, I'm on Monjaro. I'm what? You know, and it's that is a whole thing. What do you think about the Monjaro way of life then?
Well, I'm on Monjaro, and that's really weird. And the thing is, sometimes it doesn't really agree with me, so I think I'm going to probably come off of it. So
What dosage are you on at the moment?
I'm on quite a big dosage. I was on something like two something when the doctors put me on because I'm diabetic. I was clinically obese, as they would say. So they put me on it. I had I have the fat deficit to take it off, sort of thing. So they put me on it. They said that this was this wonder drug. And I sort of took it, and then I was taking it, and then they upped it again, and I was losing. It was no, I have to say it was suppressing my appetite. It was stopping me from feeling hunger. I felt full. I didn't, and then I realized I wasn't really eating things I enjoyed to eat before, and it wasn't about you having small portions, excuse me, because it does make you have smaller portions because you can't physically eat. Like, I could eat a whole pizza before, for example. I could only eat a slice, if that. I eat less. I certainly eat less now on it, but the side effects are, I think, worse. I mean, there is fluids coming out from both ends a lot of the time. I'm sick and I'm, diarrhea with it. My hair I can pull my hair out in clumps. And luckily I've got a lot of hair, so but there's a lot of stuff that I'm not too sure of with it. I'm not sure that it is going to agree with me. I'm not sure I'm losing enough weight. But having said that, I think there's a weird thing about that. I want to feel better. I want to feel healthier. I certainly want to get fitter. Since the stroke, I've realized how much I need to be fit. At the same time, I'm kind of a bit rebellious. I'll keep thinking, carry on jabbing everybody else and give the fat parts to me. The world takes all sorts. So if you haven't got enough fat people left to play parts, I'm still around. It's weird. I think where I've been big all my life, and I remember Dawn French saying this, when you've been bigger and you lose weight, there is something about you, your personality, you lose something that you've known all your life, and it's really difficult to kind of change that about yourself. And it is a mind change and a re-education of yourself, I think. And I don't know if I want to. I quite like me. I don't want to become like so obsessed with clothes, or I want to be obsessed with health. Obviously, I want to feel better, but I don't want to be obsessed with what I look like, because I think I'm all right, actually.
How much weight have
It's
you
just
lost?
probably in the beginning I'd lost about 2 stone, 2 to 3 stone. I think it was something like that, nearly 3 stone. I've probably put on a stone since the stroke because I'm not exercising. I would, and when I say exercising, I don't go to a gym. I take my bike out. I ride my bike and stuff like that, and swimming. And so I haven't kind of been doing that. So I put another stone on. I don't walk now as well because I'm walking with a stick and I walk quite slowly at the moment. That will get better, but I've got to sort of listen to my body at the moment, and it's hard to listen to my body and do what everybody's telling me to do with it. Take the injection, only eat this, do that, and I can't do everything. I know what I need to do, and I've had lots of chats with the Stroke Association and all of my physios and people that come, as to know, and my social battery, what I can cope with people and not at the moment. In the beginning I could only have an hour and a half before I had to go and lay down in a dark room because talking to somebody was really difficult. It was really
But the problem
hard.
is, like you say, is that if you think about the roles you've played, whether it's Little
Mm.
Britain or after EastEnders, you had, and I hope this is okay to say because this came from
Yeah,
Harry
yeah,
TV buff. And I know you're friends with Harry. Is Fat Hev,
yeah,
and the Fat Hev became part of the Harry Hill TV camaraderie, and Fat Friends is coming back as a musical, and that's always going on to etc. So I think you're right in the fact of you've created this character for yourself. Obviously, it's you, but there's a version of you. And would you be able to access those roles? Looking back at your career, Cheryl, for the past 60 years, now you're 60, how have you changed your outlook on life and the roles you're going for and the way you want to live your life? Obviously, you've been through some big things like the cancer, like the stroke. Where do you see your life going now? Because you've written the book, so you've taken a step back and go, right, this is what 60 years was defined by. How do you want to define your next 60 years?
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing. If there was another 60 years, that would be
For you,
fantastic.
there is, Cheryl. For you, there is.
Yeah. I think I want to, again, when you've been through something like this, and I say the stroke actually, for me, was worse than the cancer. It has been worse than the cancer. Because with cancer, you know whether it's terminal, whether you've got a chance of it, whether all of those things, you know where you're at with cancer, I think. Not always, but what I'm saying with my cancer, I knew where I was at. I knew how to deal with it. I knew what I had to do. But with the stroke, it's like it just hit you. It just hits you and you don't know. You become, it's like losing, you've lost a part of your brain that you've learned all your life to use, your arms, your legs, to think, to do things, to pronounce words, and you lose it overnight. Literally, you lose it. And it's just a shock. And especially for a creative, you just want to run literally before you can walk. I've never run a marathon before. I haven't run for a bus since 1975. Don't intend to. But I think the thing is that it's not about that. It's about your capabilities and what you. In my mind, I still want to go in the jungle and I want to be parachuted out of a airplane with a man strapped to a man's back or something. Yeah, I want to do those things. I still visualize doing this. I don't see why I can't.
Have
I
you
don't
had
see
the
why.
conversations yet for it?
No, but well, I mean, in the old days, my agent, I've got a new agent now, but my agent, who was like sort of semi-retired now, he was always putting me up for it every year, and they just didn't kind of want me. And I was like, well, I've got a game plan. I've got a massive game plan to go in the jungle.
What
And
is your game
actually,
plan?
I can't tell you because obviously, if I go in there, I would still do it. But I put it this way: the viewers would know exactly what I was doing. I would go in there a bigger person, and I would come out of there the same size. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. You won't.
Mm.
I would not come out there where they all come out a bit thinner because they haven't eaten properly. That wouldn't be my. That would not be my role in there. And whether it's I do like my food. It's the only thing. I don't drink and I don't smoke. So that's my vice. That's my vice. So I don't intend to go somewhere. I intend to have a great time and do all those challenges and challenge myself and challenge my fears. But I don't intend to not eat. That's not my plan. So I have a little game plan for when I'm in there. I love singing. I want to collaborate with Lewis Capaldi. I would that's on my bucket list. It's not a bucket list. What is a bucket list? That's a rubbish thing, having a bucket list. Let's just have things to kind of go for. I would love to collaborate with Lewis Capaldi on a cover or one of his songs. I would love to do the jungle and jump out of a plane on a man's back. And if we both gonna cop it and die, then we both go together, don't we? I mean, I, the world is my oyster, and just because my body is not necessarily willing to do what my mind wants it to do, I'm going to give it a bloody good try. And I think, like I said for my 60th, and it didn't happen because of the stroke situation, but it's going to happen next year. I wanted to go up in a hot air balloon, and nobody wanted to come with me. They were all going, "Oh no, we don't want to go in a hot air balloon." And then my son went, "Oh, I'll come with you, Mum." I went, "Okay, son, me and you next year in a hot air balloon. It doesn't really matter, the people in my life, we will go together if we don't make it. Do you know what I mean? We can, whatever happens." I think it's just a case of I'd love to be in a great series. I'd love to do a sort of Pauline Quirk, really, in terms of what she did, comedy, 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 and then she did Broadchurch, and you go, "Whoa, that's clever." I don't want to be known as Hev anymore, not because I didn't love her, but because she's gone. She's literally gone and buried. I was
Can we,
there.
can
The
we, do
coffee,
we not, can we not just bring that back? To me, Heather's alive. That's why I've gone back to 2009. She's still there. Let's not pretend she's dead yet. We don't need to. Ben
well, I
Mitchell's
think
still played by Charlie Jones. It's not a
I
change.
know, I know, I know. And how many Bens can you?
Cheryl, your
Yeah,
book, we're
yeah.
running out of time, but just to say, your
Okay.
book, Behind the Scenes, is out to go and buy now. Please do go and buy it. There's so many anecdotes that Cheryl's spoken about in today's episode, plus so much more, the ups and downs, everything Eastenders as well. It's a
Oh,
brilliant book. So please do go and buy Cheryl's book, Behind the Scenes, out to go and buy now. But look, that's it for So Goodness Good. I could talk to Cheryl forever. If you love EastEnders like I do, there are episodes in the library, fellow EastEnders stars, Louisa Litton, Jazzy Phoenix, Neil McDermott, Sid Owen, to name a few. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, I'm on Instagram at Johnny Seifert, at So Goodness Good Podcast, on TikTok at Johnny Seifert 92, and Cheryl's on Instagram and TikTok at Cheryl Fergison 1, where she is brilliant. She sings, she dances, and she tells a couple of stories along the way. So please make sure you follow us and So Goodness Good where you're watching or listening. And until next week, my friend, look after yourself. And remember, it's okay to not be okay. Take care.